Hi guys, I'm Dorita van Lochenberg. Welcome to Logged In with Teacher Dorita. Guys, I'm going to do two videos. One where I'm going to show you how to do your fares calculation for travel services in 4. And the next one where I'm going to show you how to do the flight schedule question. But before we can do that, I thought it's important that we look at the fares handout. So it's different for every college. At our college, we teach the fares and the flight schedule using a fares handout. It's a separate document that we hand out to our students to teach them. But some colleges just teach it from the textbook, and some colleges teach it maybe from previous exam papers. However, is true for all of you guys is that when you write the travel services N4 exam, you're not allowed to take any of your own resources into the exam venue. So the fares and the flight schedule and the taxes and everything will be part of the exam paper as an addendum. So what I've done is I've scanned a previous exam paper's fares and flight schedule information. So I want to first go through this with you so that you can see and understand what is it that you are seeing. And then after that, we'll do an exercise on fares and flight schedule. Right, so it's going to usually always look like this. In this exam, it was named Addendum A. And the first thing you see is the British Airways flight schedule. The flight schedule will be used when you have to do the flight schedule question. So you know that's the question where they leave out certain information, certain parts of the information of the flight, and you have to find it on the flight schedule and fill in the missing information. So what is it that we see? With the British Airways flight schedule, the first thing you see is the route. So the first route that we have here is from Johannesburg to Cape Town. Sorry, I'm not making a straight line. It's from Johannesburg to Cape Town. The next thing you see are these numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What this means is that this specific flight will fly on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5. So you'll remember from the textbook when you were learning all those codes that these numbers are the codes for the days, meaning that day 1 is Monday, day 2 is Tuesday, day 3 is Wednesday, and so on. So then this flight will fly on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It does not fly on day 6 and 7. So it doesn't fly on a Saturday and Sunday. That's what the numbers mean. Then you see a time. The first time slot they give you, 6:30. This is your departure time. So this flight departs at 6:30 in the morning. And the next time that you see, 8:40, is the arrival time. It means the flight will arrive in Cape Town at 8:40. The next thing you see is the flight number. The flight number for this flight is BA6441. And then British Airways shows you the aircraft. That's what this last code means, the B737. It's basically a Boeing 737. Not all of the airlines show the aircraft, and in the exam, they don't really focus on any questions with regards to the specific aircraft, but I'm just showing you so that you know what it means. Okay, so in actual fact, then, you've got a lot of routes on British Airways because here you also have Cape Town to Joburg. You've got Joburg to Durban. You've got Durban to Joburg. right? Let's scroll down a bit. You've got Johannesburg to Port Elizabeth and Port Elizabeth to Johannesburg and so on. So each time, right at the top of the block, they'll give you the route. Then they'll give you the days on which the flight flies. They'll give you the departure time, the arrival time, the flight number, and British Airways also shows the aircraft that is being used. Okay. When you carry on with your fares handout, the next thing you will see will be the fares for British Airways. This means it's the cost, the price of the flight. Okay. In this case, they give you the route at the top. So your first route will be Joburg to Cape Town. Then you've got Joburg to Durban. Then you've got Joburg to Port Elizabeth. And you've got Durban to Cape Town. With fares, however, you can also use the route vice versa. So it means that you don't only have 4 routes here, you've actually got 8, because you also have Cape Town to Durban, Port Elizabeth to Joburg, Durban to Joburg, and Cape Town to Joburg. So that's 8 routes. The next thing you see on British Airways fares is that they give you the fares for the adult, the child, and the infant. This is great because it means for British Airways, you don't need to work out the fares for the child and the infant. They've done the work for you. They've already worked it out. Okay. What's also important to remember is that with fares, you will always only work with one way. You're going to work with the one-way cost. We do not even look at the return flight cost, and we do not even look at VAT. You're going to work the VAT out yourself at a later time. All right, let's do an example. If you are flying from Joburg to Cape Town and you're flying on Class C, the adult will pay 1,900 Rand. The child will pay 1,280 Rand. And the infant will pay 190 Rand. Do you see that I've only looked at the cost for the one-way flight and I've completely ignored the VAT? I'm not even looking at the VAT. Right, let's say you want to fly from Cape Town to Durban. There isn't a route that says Cape Town to Durban, but you can use Durban to Cape Town because we can use it vice versa. There we go. If you're flying on Class Y, your adult will pay 1,500 Rand. Your child will pay 1,010 Rand. And your infant will pay 150 Rand. Because we only use the one-way fare and we do not even pay attention to the VAT. Okay, I hope that's been helpful. The next thing we see is the South African Airways flight schedule. So it works the same, guys, as the British Airways flight schedule. The same information is given, but the layout is a little bit different. So don't let that scare you. All the information you need is right here on this page. They've just used a different layout. So let's first look at some of the routes that we see. Our first route is from Durban to East London. Then we've got Durban to George. We've got Joburg to Port Elizabeth. Okay. And they also here give us the numbers. So this first flight will fly on day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They show you the departure time. They show the arrival time and they give you the flight number, SA1301. SAA does not show the aircraft. Also, that's why, because these two airlines show it so differently, they don't usually ask questions in the exam with regards to the type of aircraft, so you don't need to stress about that. Right, so SAA will have a lot more flights, usually than British Airways, a lot more routes. You'll see from the top to the bottom, and it's got 3 columns, so there's quite a lot of routes here. But regardless of the route, the information that you get, it's the same. Let's look at this one. From Umtata to go to Phalaborwa, right? They give you the days. It flies on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. It does not fly on day 6. You've got your departure time, you've got your arrival time, and you've got your flight number. You'll see here with this flight from Umtata, there are 2 flight numbers. You will always use the first one. The reason why there are 2 flight numbers is just because sometimes there will be connecting flights, and then it will use a different flight number, but it doesn't really apply to you guys to be able to answer the flight schedule question. So you don't need to stress about that. You're going to only use the first flight number. Okay. The next thing that we see will be the fares for SAA. So again, the display looks different from British Airways, but the information is also here. They start their fares by showing the class of travel. So you've got class J, Y, KA3, which will only be referred to as K, and HOW14, which will be referred to as class H. We just use the first letters. I'm just going to scroll down a bit to show you in a different spot where there isn't any highlight yet. So how does these fares work? The flight here from Joburg, it's from Joburg and it's to all of the locations you see here. All of them. Meaning that you can fly from Joburg to Hoedspruit. You can fly from Joburg to Nelspruit, Joburg to Port Elizabeth, Joburg to Richards Bay, Joburg to Uppington and Umtata. So I've used a lot of color now, but I just want you to see that from Joburg you're going to fly to all these locations shown in the block. The one just above that, East London, you can fly from East London to Joburg or East London to Port Elizabeth. And remember, with SAA, you can also use the flights vice versa, meaning that you can fly from Bloemfontein to Cape Town, Bloemfontein to Durban, or you can fly Durban to Bloemfontein or Cape Town to Bloemfontein, East London to Bloemfontein, Joburg to Bloemfontein. You can go both ways. Remember, because whether you're flying from Bloemfontein to Cape Town or from Cape Town to Bloemfontein, the fare is going to be the same. The price will be the same. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I know I used a lot of color. I hope it made sense, right? So the next thing we see then is our taxes, our ticket tax, and I'm going to explain this to you very nicely when I do the video on fares. But basically for PSC, when they say you need to charge the PSC, The PSC is all of these charges. So if you fly from Joburg, you will charge 52 Rand. Flying from Durban or Cape Town, you will charge 48 Rand. All of the small airports here in the middle, you'll charge 47 Rand. Hoedspruit is 110 Rand. And Nelspruit or Mpumalanga is 78 Rand. We only charge the PSC from departure cities. That's important to remember, and I'll explain it when I explain the fares. The next thing you see is your 6 Rand service charge or your EV charge. That's this one. Basically, all it means is you're going to charge 6 Rand per departure from South African airports. Guys, for TSN4, you will always work with domestic airports, so you don't need to worry about having international cities or airports in your fares calculation. They will always be South African airports. So you're going to always charge your 6 Rand only from departure cities, not for arrival. The last thing that you will see on your fares handout will be your war tax, your YQ and your YR taxes. So pretty straightforward. Your YR tax for South African Airlines, it's 140 Rand per flight. And the YQ for British Airways is 133 Rand per flight. These charges are charged specific to the airline. So if it's an SAA flight, you're going to charge 140 Rand. If it's a British Airways flight, you're going to charge 133 Rand. You'll notice that I'm ignoring Central Airlines. This is simply because Central Airlines is not really being used anymore, and you'll see in the exam, it will probably be questions only with regards to SAA and British Airways. They might even call it something different like SA Airlink or Brit Air, something different, but they don't use Central Airlines anymore. Okay, so this was just a video just to give you an introduction or a recap, if you will, of the fares handout. So you're going to have your British Airways flight schedule, where they give you the list of flights. You're going to use this to do your flight schedule question. They then give you the fares for British Airways, which you're going to use to do your fares calculation. They then show you the flight schedule for South African Airways, which you use to do your flight schedule question. And you have then the fares for SAA, the cost of the price of the flights, and you use this for your fares calculation. And the last one is the taxes, which also is applicable when you do your fares calculation. Okay, that's basically flight schedule and fares calculation in a nutshell. Please have a look at my next video, because I will do a detailed explanation of the fares calculation, how you need to do the fares, and the one after that I will do the flight schedule. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and also like the video, and you are welcome to share it with your friends. Talk to you soon. Thanks guys. Bye.